So why don't we start with a very short introduction by each of you, and then we'll take it from there.
CEO and founder of Crypto Finance, FINMA-regulated broker-dealer, custodian and asset manager. We're now part of Deutsche Börse Group. Deutsche Börse Group is the largest financial market infrastructure provider in Europe. We don't serve end clients, we only serve financial institutions, primarily banks, but as well asset managers, so that individual investors can get access to the crypto space directly through their bank or indirectly through products.
Hans-Peter Borgh, CEO of BIL Suisse. BIL is a Luxembourgish bank in its origin, but based here in Lugano, headed by Sasha, but also in Zurich and Geneva. As you can see in our logo, we date from 1856. I feel like I'm representing, in that sense, the traditional world very much on this stage. But one thing that has never changed, when we started in 1856, our mission was actually to serve entrepreneurs and to facilitate an ecosystem.
My name is Christoph Kampitch. I'm the Chief Entertainment Officer of Scytale Digital. So Scytale was founded by Mark Casher. He was very successful with the first fund, made a lot of money for the investors, and then he said, I need to join now, which I happily did, and we have a team of 11 now.
In my own case, I'm a co-founder of L1 Digital. L1 Digital is a Zurich-based asset manager, fully regulated by FINMA. We focus only on blockchain and crypto, $400 million of assets under management, and we run 1 liquid and 2 VC funds. So let me ask a provocative question. Why would any crypto native use the service of a boring old-fashioned private bank and deal in fiat?
Because you still need to, and the crypto native, whether we like it or not, I mean, the beers last night in the bar, we still can't pay in Bitcoin or in the Luga, and we still need money to do our daily life and run our business. That's the easy answer. The reality shows that even the most native crypto enthusiasts still hedge themselves by having part of their money actually in an old-fashioned bank.
If you think about the future, will banks actually be completely disrupted by DeFi and stablecoins and CBDCs? So is there a need for banks in the future?
Yeah, I think there continue. I mean, it's a healthy thing actually that there is a form of substitution, because it actually forces also banks to reinvent themselves. But I think the fundamental role of banks is less competitive with the DeFi environment, I think, than you think. Banks still have the privilege to what we call money creation, or the transformation of deposits to loans, without being too technical. And I think that will still be needed, because it will be difficult to do that same transformation at the scale as we need it in our economy today outside the banking system. But even if you take your provocative view that we would migrate so much, I think then there is the core competencies of a bank, of intermediating in capital and between the supply and demand, and making, in that sense, facilitating the economy, I think can also be applied in a more decentralized environment. And that's the challenge to us. I'm not saying we are there today as an industry or as BIL, but I'm convinced, and I think history has also taught us, if you go back to good old merchant banking in England and to what we do today, I think we can apply the principles in a different context.
Jan, you run essentially a B2B CeFi business. Where do you see most demand in brokerage trading, in custody, in tokenization, and is that in Switzerland or in other European markets?
From a regional perspective, I would say it's definitely Switzerland first, because Switzerland put in very, very good laws into place back in 21, 20 and 17, which led that banks are comfortable, they have the regulatory clarity, they can move on, they can offer that services. I think Switzerland is the country with the most banks offering real crypto to their clients, either directly or indirectly. And that's going to change, again, exponentially in the coming 2 years. I know a lot of clients, a lot of banks who are working on it. Maybe they're just waiting until markets have calmed down or markets go up again to come up with or to announce the initiatives or the offerings. They are just very cautious.
Into the far future, do you think we will still need brokers and custodians like Crypto Finance, or centralized exchanges, even crypto exchanges like Deutsche Börse, or will all that be gone and people do it decentralized?
I think it's always a staggered approach, right? We won't go from centralized to decentralized in one step. We all need to get more comfortable with blockchain, with interacting with a blockchain, with tokens. What is it? How do I need to handle it? On the other hand, a bank is not just a trading house, it's advisory as well. It comes back to trust. Yes, I know, don't trust, verify, but only very few people are able to verify a smart contract. So that's why they're relying on trusted partners like banks, which can review those smart contracts, so you can review the cases behind and advise clients on, okay, that makes sense or that doesn't make sense for the individual situation of each client. And to look at it from a holistic wealth perspective, it's much more complex and nuanced than only, yes, okay, this token is good or this token is bad. It always needs to be looked at holistically.
We believe that with the stability and the regulation and everything that's behind that we bring trust for some people, actually trust for many people who take confidence in that more institutionalized environment from where we offer our services. I realize that for some others, and maybe also some others in the room, trust is actually more to not have to deal with centralized institutions, kind of the opposite. So there's a risk of a polarization in a way around the trust theme of, on the one hand, investors, clients of a private bank, like you say, who are looking to invest in crypto assets and who would take comfort from that by having access to such assets through traditional institutions, from the notion of that these institutions would bring a layer of trust. There are others who are saying, yeah, actually I don't want to have anything to do with the centralized system, and I'd rather have my cold wallet in my buried somewhere in my garden or somewhere, and that's actually much more trust to me than dealing with a bank. And I think that polarized view we would like to bridge. We actually don't believe in polarization. We believe that by the two worlds collaborating and coming closer together, and by facilitating that, actually we can progress together in a more meaningful way and create more value.
Banking will have a very hard time going forward. The way things work over the last 50 years are not going to work for the next 50 years.
Which will be the fastest and most secure layer 1 in the future? Will it be ETH, Solana, Polkadot, or something else?
I would say I hope I know by the end of today, because I'm still learning. But last night, actually over dinner, I think the consensus was Polkadot.
Speed and security doesn't need to be the same, right? You don't need speed at the same time as security. Sometimes you have different use cases. On the security side, I'm for Ethereum.
Of course, Polkadot.
Which do you think will be the big killer use cases that will cause a lot of user adoption?
I think it's going to be gaming now, because gaming is focusing on the younger generation and they will grow up with that, and this will bring the user adoption.
For me it would be a hybrid. I think I would say from a currency point of view, I would say payments, because I think there's still a lot of inefficiencies in payments and risks in payments that could be disrupted by the space and therefore make the use case most relevant. But I think also a lot of coins are not really currencies, but are like shares, are financing technology and platforms. It's like a modern way of a share. So there I would say stock or shares as capital, as funding for entrepreneurs.
Globally, I think it's Bitcoin. It's the most advanced, most well-known use case on tokens. And for global adoption, I think we'll see first the further adoption of Bitcoin, and then maybe Ethereum and the adoption of Ethereum smart contract platforms where people will have tokenized assets on it.
Fast forward 50 to 100 years out, imagine. Will we see the end of nation states and central banks? And will our society become increasingly organized around networks?
So I know that Thomas is doing a very good job at the SNB, and I would say SNB is rather a very people-friendly central bank compared to some others. So I would say probably Switzerland is one of the latest who would be disrupted, but other countries, yes, could be. I mean, we already see the influence of global multinational companies on states, and it could really be that the system, how we interact and what borders are and nations will change a bit.
Hans-Peter, are we at the end of nation states?
I don't think so, but I think they're not mutually exclusive. And allow me the EU voice. Look what we have. We now have one central bank. For how many Eurozone countries do we have today? I think 19 or something like that, plus or minus. So I think it's not, it will change, it will evolve, but I think the two are not mutually exclusive.
Yeah, no, I think it will change. People always think the nation states have been around forever, but in the end it's a 200-year-old concept. People underestimate what is happening in the US, what is happening in Europe. It's a money printing machine, and the money printing is leading to inflation, and inflation will end the nation state as we see it right now. Inflation always leads to war, without any exception.
Bitcoin, stable coins, CBDCs, so central bank digital currencies. Who will win the payment space in the future? Jan?
Stablecoins.
Central bank currency.
I hope it's not CBDCs. That's my answer.